I want to go back. I like to carry us forward and then come on back. And I know there was a situation that was it took you through a few turmoil, tumultuous points.
Right.
There was a situation you were in. It took you through some turmoil, and it really impacted you.
Right. Right.
Put you in a real tailspin.
Right.
I think because of all the good you talk about you're doing now and all the positive, and we want to keep that. I think it's important too for whether it's the youngest listener that's saying, well, that's great, but how did he get there? Or that older listener or viewer who's saying, yeah, all he's talking about is this good stuff. We know there's bad things that happen.
Mm-hmm.
We have this thing that says you got to hit the bottom before you can really reach your top.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about how you
Mm-hmm.
really you hit a rough spot,
Yeah.
and you grew yourself from that. You
Yeah.
learned some lessons.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Larry, you talk about dark moments in one's life, and you live a life of commitment and service, and at a certain point, you possibly take on more than you should. Right? I was president of a community-based organization, running two different nonprofit organizations, a full-time job, most importantly, husband, father. And so, but because of the love I have for my community, I sometimes take on too much.
Okay.
And in doing that, you can lose details, and particularly if you're involved with nonprofit organizations, it's important that you kind of stay on point with details. And you have to be careful about the kind of people you get connected with, right? So we had a situation where we had a benefactor, an organization that was giving us money for the nonprofit I Love Our Youth, and that benefactor came to us by way of one of my fraternity brothers who was involved with the Big Brothers Big Sisters of Westchester County. It turned out that benefactor was corrupt in terms of how they were doing their business.
Mm-hmm.
So as a result of the Attorney General investigating the organization, then they investigated the people that were connected with so the people that they were giving, so we were one of the people. So they go back and review 5 years of your records. So the good thing is we had a bookkeeper, right?
Okay.
So I was like, good, we're good. The problem is one of the problems is in the learning experience. Our bookkeeper was extremely knowledgeable in for-profit book record keeping.
Okay.
Not nonprofit record
Very,
keeping.
very different. Very
Yes,
different.
yes.
And that's a good lesson for people. That's a good thing for people to know. Good
Yes,
information.
Yes. So we got caught up there with that. Part two of it was that, over 20 years, there are certain expectations that the state has in terms of maintaining your organization. You have to have regular meetings. You have to keep minutes for your meetings. You have to have receipts, records for all the things that you engage in.
Okay.
And so as time went on, we got loose with that. We weren't as succinct with the record keeping part. But what really got us caught up was when we came upon someone who had offered to give us kind of what we would. My goal was always to build a community center in Hollis, Queens, where I'm from, and so I ran into somebody that made that dream a reality, or thought I could make that dream. Thought they could make that dream a reality for
Okay.
me, and so they were talking about being able to provide resources to make that happen. As it turned out, according to the Attorney General's office, this person wasn't legit. But he was able to galvanize hundreds of people, as it turns out, throughout the country. I'm having lunch and dinner with Spike Lee with this guy. I have Shaquille O'Neal's personal cell number as a result of this gentleman meeting with celebrities and alleged billionaires, confirmed billionaires.
Right.
And so, so we wound up helping to support him. We wound up giving him money to kind of keep his thing going, air flights, train tickets, hotels, food, and no receipts, right?
Wow.
So always believing that if we get the $1 million, we'll be able to get everything in place.
Okay, okay.
You know, we get the resources, we can tighten it up, and we can get everything in place. Because when you have money, you can kind of do that. You can
Right.
hire people to kind of get things in order. We got really in a. I personally got hit by the Attorney General, was fined, and my intentions were always honorable and true. Never took money, never wanted to do anything fraudulent, but again, we gave money to people, a person that we shouldn't have. We didn't have the proper oversight at times that we should have, and it was a lesson learned. But it was a tough lesson,
Okay.
but it was a lesson learned nonetheless, and you grow from it, like you said.
This must have been a lot of strain on your family as well.
The irony is, here's another lesson. Never go into a situation like that without an attorney, which is what I did.
Okay.
I was involved with the Attorney General's office by myself. No one knew, because I was trying to keep it quiet, because we had all these positive things happening.
Right.
I didn't want any negative energy to creep into what we were doing.
Right.
So I tried to contain it. And so when I went into this agreement with them, we had a settlement. It was with the premise, with the belief, what I was told, that it would never become public.
Gotcha.
It would never be.
Well, I really enjoy this, and I'm sure we can go on and on and on. But I know at some point we have to cut and move on. I want to thank you for sharing your thoughts, and I'm sure that those watching will get a total view of who you are and what you are, and try and get involved, if not with you, within themselves and within their own communities. I think you want to promote that as well. Mm-hmm. I thank you for involving me and the other parents, and I'll be specific, Black and Hispanic men who have kind of pulled themselves up by the bootstraps and say, you know what, we need to help these kids grow. Yes. I thank you personally for doing that and getting involved, and the fact that you're not a native New Yorker. Mm-hmm. You decided this is what I'm going to do to help. And then a native Bronxite, one of the poorest communities in the entire United States, you planted yourself and said, I'm going to make this better. I think we all applaud you and thank you for that assistance.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hosea Givan, it's a pleasure. It's been a pleasure knowing you, brother,
Yes,
and we'll
sir.
be here for a while.
Yes, sir. All right, brother. I
want to thank you all for taking the time to watch another episode of Ignite, Empower, Transform.
We give back, so we'll see and show someone where